Hold on, guys. I need to set something up. Sorry about that.
You're finally here.
Just focus on how today's
destined
episode has
for
an
you.
incredible title. Okay, I'll be honest. So, I'm a human being. I have emotions when I give these talks. And so the principal or prime emotion that is acting as the wave that my conscious attention is surfing now.
You're supposed to help me.
The grand title.
It's easier to show. I'm the last of
The title that I felt I found from another dimension or from the future is that when the future laughs at mistakes we thought were mistakes. And so let me see if I can continue smoothly. All right, let's just find a different song. Okay. When the future laughs at mistakes we thought were mistakes. You know, an interesting idea occurred to me. An idea perhaps appropriate to speak about, you know, over the song. You know, the idea occurred to me that I have been various moments in my life, in this lifetime, I'm 32, and various moments in my lifetime, there have come moments where I've looked down on myself. And the way I've looked down on myself as if I have abandoned myself. You know, this is a very interesting idea in the sense that people think you can only abandon others. No, you can abandon yourself. You know, you can be, you can look at yourself at such a low point that in some sense you can't see the potential for the highs, you know. Even though life has highs and lows. But it's all piloting. That's why I like that metaphor. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that it occurred to me that I have had many moments where I have thought I have made a mistake. And I've judged myself. You know, I've burdened my own heart with my own inefficiency. But were my mistakes mistakes? And can anybody write a story, you know, with a character that has no mistakes? You know, like in some sense, it's impossible to have an unmistaken self in an unmistaken world, you know, because that self and that world will be, that self and world would belong to a perfection beyond comprehension. So what I'm saying is when you look at the human being, you know, we are in a society where you get judged, right? If you make the wrong decision, you know, or if you, how can I tell you, you know, it's like, you know, when there's a cashier at a register, you know, and there's a line of people, you know, if that cashier doesn't, you know, keeps making mistakes, you know, there's judgment that follows, right? Can't handle, you know, the amount of people there quickly. What I'm trying to say is that I have had this attitude and I'm kind of tired of it, even though I've been conditioned to have this view that, you know, my mistakes are mistakes forever. And that's the thing, you know, how do we know, right, that a mistake is a mistake? I mean, obviously by the result of it, but in some sense, the result of it in what time span? That means imagine somebody does something, it leads to one outcome, but what they've done has been in some sense an action that has in some sense echoed, you know, like a wave that is going to the edge of the cosmos, even though we can't travel that fast. So what I'm trying to say is that you, whoever you are right now, you know, I find there to be, like in this lifetime I've lived, you know, I'm not an old man, but sometimes, you know, when I read history, I do feel like one. the approach would be something like this. I'm thinking of it right now in the sense that, okay, let's say a human being has made a mistake, and they look at that mistake and they wonder, okay, something has happened, some event has taken place, some energy has entered a system, some influence to the moment has in some sense echoed. One consideration, the easiest, just like dismissing, the life of the world. It's easier to destroy than create. It is easier to see nothing rather than something there. To truly see life having no value is equivalent to, it's like you're dead before you could be. Do you know? I don't consider this cosmos to be dead. I don't consider this cosmos to be some sort of left, gigantic, cocoon of a butterfly that's already flown out of it. This is following the idea that there are species prior to us that have reached such advanced heights that surpass human sight. Imagine an advanced humanity that managed to go faster than the speed of light. And we were like, yo, where are these, extraterrestrials, advanced human beings, time travelers, right? Why can't we see them? Yeah, because they're going faster than the speed of light, imagine. And so what I'm trying to say is we know that reality vibrates and we know that it amplifies. The vibrations can amplify. When I think about myself in this human existence, I have a view where I'm like, yo, who am I? And I think about my backstory as a human being that is manifested in reality, that has walked through tunnels of various experiences with various kinds of people. At some point, you just look at human nature and you go, oh, that's what it is, But what I'm trying to say right now is that we are living in a dualistic modality to reality, which means that whatever you do, there's going to be creatures, other human beings who are going to be like, yo, was that good or was that bad? Was that, the problem or the solution? Evil is the problem, good is the solution. Do you know why? Because in goodness, we create a space where we can be neutral. Chaos usually chains itself to what it is chaotic to. That right now we're living in this world where the idea of what an advanced human being is needs to surpass just like a fucking gorilla, hitting its chest, Right now, that's the world we're in. It's like size has a sort of psychological power. It's like you know what I'm saying? That means if a giant suddenly was walking in the streets, we can't ignore it. We're like you know what kind of human civilization we're living in, what kind of low quality, low resolution of a civilization we're living in. We're living in such a low resolution civilization that if actually a giant was walking in the streets, human beings would throw rocks at it. That's how foolish, that's how emotion feels and is powerful. Not realizing that there's a reason you're an analytical entity. There's a reason there's attention to the consecutive systematical approach of things. For me, as a human being who just wanted to give 10,000 talks, I was privileged with a unique access to a situation that it was as if I found a different door to knowledge than many others, in the sense that I put forth for myself such a colossal task that I was like, okay, I gotta go figure it out. And so I've recently managed to categorize my anxiety. Like when I look down on myself, at least I try to look at it clearly, you know. You know, it's honestly like the human species is waiting for some sort of saving wind to, like, you know, imagine this giant wind comes and, you know, carries all of us like to a new state, right? It's as if we're waiting for a gigantic expression. It's as if we're waiting. You know what it is? It's like the mind of the human species is thirsty for the future, yet we are not. You know, it's as if it's waiting for rivers of innovation. You know, this time will come. You know, I'm just kind of like that guy who's like, yo, if I do this, is something gonna change? You know, I'm telling you, whoever you are, how you know you're a psychological human being is that at some point the weight of inefficiency will bear down on you, and you will be like, okay, what is this saying now? You know. So what I'm saying is we're conditioned in a civilization where the child born on earth, you know, it's born not being able to speak a language, not having an ability to articulate and create inner models to react.
Dig. Seek the Dragonfire Cathedral with pick and spade. Smother, choke, and quench the light. By Moloch Ball's will, obey.
Tell me more about this map, or things will go very poorly for you. Are you listening? You made it. Excellent. I am sorry. Dragonfire Cathedral? Are you sure you heard that correctly? Skeletons aren't all that. That must have been disconcerting. It's a legend. Folktale. Like Arcade. The cathedral is supposed to be the resting place of Akatosh's second gift to Alessia. The map I took from this idiot points to the crematorium. I'll bet that's where Molagbal we demolished. None that he was keeping. It's a mess in here, I know. But it was the best I could do on short notice. Set the kindle pitch before more of these cultists arrive. Well done. That's sure to draw some attention. Meet me back at your Alliance base once the coast is clear. You look awful. I'm sorry, that sounded bad. You look excellent. This will buy us some time. If the Dragonfire Cathedral actually exists, we need to make... this. Where have they taken me?
Reality that move faster than it, so there could be that space for analysis. Sometimes it's not about how slow, they brainwash kids to think that only if you go slow you understand. Really depends on what you're trying to understand. If you're alive in one lifetime, I have 100 years, like this is how I keep some sort of Mysterian honor alive in myself, right? An honor that connects to something bigger than myself, right? And it is in finding myself in reverence of this cosmic situation. It's so funny. From a religious standpoint, it's actually beautiful, where it's as if the person's like, I experienced this, right? I'm not trying to make this about religion, but because I experienced something about it, it connects to this, right? So I reached this point where I was like, universe, give me a sign, and I opened this holy book, and the holy book said, through an act of prayer, I asked for something, and the holy book said the signs are already there. And I was like, wait a minute, it could be that truth is not per se just adding new, but rather wondering what is the efficient use of some existential energy experientially. That means, what do we look at here, for this journey of 100 years we're on, right? So it's like, just for the sake of, easier to speak about, I say, like, all right, the human lifespan, 100 years. The size of the cosmos, too big to index. The size of everywhere on the planet, too big to index. The fractal nature of perception, of how you zoom into an atom and you find there is a hidden world there of different movements, right? It's as if what really energy is how various structures, on some level, chemical structures, even you go before that, physical structures, are in some sense interacting. Do you understand? It's as if, like, imagine, like, here, I'll say this, the human species, it's like you threw 8 billion systems, on a rock in the middle of nowhere, inside a giant system. Where is this leading? An advanced human being is really based on human vision. When we go and look at history, when we go look at knowledge, like what we consider knowledge, like when we look at someone and we say someone is knowledgeable, or when we look at someone and we say someone is wise, or when we look at a situation that, like the Kairos, Greek way of acknowledging divinity, in the sense that there is a moment where time is moving chronological, and then there is a moment where the right thing needs to happen. It's as if an intervention of an activity that surpasses the What I'm seeing right now that I can speak about in my inner realms is how, if we choose to have a dualistic approach to life, if a human being is born on Earth, it has a neutrality in the state of mind.
Oh, thank Mara. I thought my soul would be lost. Bless you, my child, bless you.
The child is named after noticing itself in the mirror. This named child begins to, in some sense, create inner models to reality. The first point of the model is itself. From the self, there began something to look at the world, something to engage the world. And so all conscious beings have to stabilize attention to a point. Think of it this way, it's as if before you jump, your feet need to be on a stable ground, right? So before consciousness pilots navigates maneuvers, it needs a sort of stability. That stability, when the first flag you plant is the flag of who am I? Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what that means? Aside from, the speaker coughing out of excitement, these are coughs of excitement, guys. And also mistakes. It's like the podcaster's like, I know, guys, I'm making mistakes. Let me give my
You must
talk.
hurry, friend. They dragged Father Ignatius to the Temple of the One.
But are the mistakes of 2023 really the mistakes of 2047? No, we don't know. We don't even know why 2047, Maybe something we're doing now, it's like I find it this way, that the conscious plant seeds and the unconscious just eat from those trees. Life is really not, the human psychology, I'm telling you, it's really not a power struggle. It was just like a bunch of animals before they could calm down. Like many people had to be killed for the human story to have some sort of modern morality, right? Pretty much I'm saying that a biological entity, a biological organism appears at some point of noticing itself, its biological self, and in the biological world, it reaches a point where it separates itself. It's as if the brain of a newborn does not have a self. It's as if children are not people to themselves yet.
It's about time. You didn't find, well, that call. Make sure...
Anyways, to continue. Are mistakes really mistakes? And really, what I'm trying to say is, like, this creature appears, right? It needs duality to separate itself from the world to be an entity. Because it needs that duality, it begins perceiving duality, fractalizing it internally everywhere. And what that means is everything you see suddenly becomes like a string that you don't know how far it goes, how far it can be pulled. And the knowledge of this world is literally, you are a container, and as you move, you get filled with experience. Some people say the meaning of life is to experience life, and there's even sayings that say some people just exist, and then some people are actually living, and so really, what is this? It's the game of duality, dear listeners. The duality of reality is how your attention is navigating, and it is using a dual system, okay? Human personality is dualistically due to the name. See, if you wanted to create some sort of a mind interface, like, the human being is a two-dimensional, there's two dimensions where its intelligence is happening. Just like we have two eyes that see the same moment, from the same moment has extended an internal, a psychological romance of the human mind and what it can do in the void. Do you know what is the retaliation? It's as if the person was like, for all those people on earth who say there is no meaning to being alive, let me tell you this: what if you have to create? What if we have to usher in the most advanced movement of human behavior on Earth to see what it would lead to? Do You see, and our mistakes are kind of like, you know, a mistake is like taking a wrong turn. Your GPS address says turn right and you turn left, you're going straight. You know, mistakes are kind of like, you know, where you accidentally drove your attention to. Now move, you know, move out, you know. And what I mean by move out, I was kind of imagining like a SWAT team, like the advanced human mind should have such, it should have the best of all worlds, because it can use the best of all worlds to better the world. That's like, you know, perfect. You know, it's kind of bizarre talking about perfection, you know, but really what it is how the cycle of perfection, how every moment that something is wrong is creating a space for something new to be right again. Do you see? It was never about knowledge. It's like, yo, right now, let me tell you what's so funny. You know, it's as if power was who had the most strength, knowledge was who had the most. And we're living in a time where I will tell you, those people who are born just, you're living a basic life. Let me tell you what's going on. The psychological value is off. There is something off with existing in a world this vast and living so small. It disgusts me personally, but I am also in the small. You know, and let me tell you what, I have even made by the if you were yogic, it would be karma. If you were Muslim, it would be in some sense, you know, the redemption. In some sense, what happens? It's as if I've made decisions and I've gone through moments and stuff has happened, and after or during or at some point, I was like, okay, why is this happening, right? And I realize it's because it's where my attention is. And little do we know, the secret of life is concentration. But on what? That's the next secret. You know, that's like part 2 of the secret. There will come a time where the sheep will wonder if they could have ever been lions. You know, and there will come a time where the lions will wonder if they're the sheep to greater worlds. You know, it all rises before it can fall. Or it is rising non-stop. Do you know what I mean? That means if, like, imagine, like for me, you know, I don't know how, like maybe it's my, you know, I think my sense of humor gives me access to imagine things that otherwise, if I was too serious about, I could not see. I could not see. Let me tell you what it is, or what it has been for me. You know, if somebody was like, hey, man, what's one sentence you can say that summarizes all that you have viewed about, like, what I've seen, like what I've concluded? I would say that really what the world is, it's as if you put infinite stuff in a room, and then you, from outside of this room, you can choose to go in the room and interact with the stuff. Do you understand? That means what story of interaction are we giving to consciousness? If it's physical, then why do we have these memories? Do you know, why do we have abstraction? Why is there poetry, art, and music? Why is there, you know, the rage of man that once tamed became, you know, a sort of heavenly staircase, right? So what it is that there are some people who are like, yo, man, it's a bad world. You know, it's like, what do? You know, we can't even blame people because our ancestors were fucking savages, right? That means we can all act civilized, we can all act polite, but in reality, for how messed up human history has been, we have to say sorry all the time. This is why Canada is ahead, you know? When people say sorry, it's because the chaos has been so fucking, like, it's like, damn, we tried to build a house called human civilization, and there was a storm, and part of the house has been destroyed, right? But what do? Guess what? We need somewhere to stay. And what does that mean? That means the attention of the human species has such far heights. That means for me, I was like, yo, there's motivational speakers. Like, how fucking ridiculous is that? You know? I think the concept of a motivational speaker is bizarre when you have not noticed how fascinating your eyes are. Your own eyes. Do you understand? You're a portal right now. You know, you think you're a YouTube viewer. You right now are like literally your personality is standing in the portal where behind your eyes it's every thought how far you as as awareness in a moment have seen life, and then there's a version of you, yeah, the character in your own personal, psychosocial conception, inner realm anime. Do you know what I'm saying? That means behind our lives, behind our eyes, we're living lives that are freer than what we see in front of them. And so we wonder why this, right? That means if somebody came up to me right now and were like, hey man, here's a ticket, not to Willy Wonka chocolate factory and how sugar is destroying nations, worse than military. But in reality, if somebody was like, hey man, you want to go check out an advanced civilization in another dimension, I'd be like, yeah, it's so boring on Earth. Like, what are we doing? We're still like, it's like, this might sound bizarre, but even though we are walking, it's not where our biology is not designed for walking. That means I was like, yo, the gravity on this planet is too much and people are getting tired, So, so if we can't change the gravity in the outer realms, guess what? We can build. You see, I don't know who you are, right? You might be an artist, musician, or you might be an accountant. You might be see, there's a spectrum. Imagine everybody has a human brain. So this human brain has a spectrum. On one side, it's pure creativity. It's like a randomity of infinity. And on the other spectrum, it's like the structure of where it's all starting from. So it's as if there's some human beings, they go into the fields where structure and design and shape is more fascinating. And then there are those who want to see change, right? So in some sense, this might sound bizarre, but by the moment you get a vision of an advanced humanity, whoever you are, I'm not saying this is equivalent to like divinity, as if like divine, I'm not saying this is divine revelation, but I'm saying if there was a second runner-up, it would be just getting a glimpse of how advanced any moment of time could be. It's not about like, yo, sit down, meditate, discover your everything. No. If you're everything, you don't need to discover it. You already know. There is something that's it's irritating me. This is like the lament of Aninja Beransari, like really like who I am as a human being. When I look at it, it's like hearing this like screeching sound, right? I shouldn't say it like that. It's like I'm hearing this melody of how the human species has accepted too soon the images for what it is. What if it's not a photo you can put on a wall and be like, yo, look at my truth, or rather it's a dynamic film, interconnected, massive interdimensional system, right? Where our consciousness has suddenly, it's as if, there's something spectacular about being a gear in the, being a, gear or a cog in the cosmos. You're not just like, your own story box, right? And what do I mean by this? That means everybody starts from their own inner realms. It's unavoidable. We know it's like what we have seen has become the first prototype of our acceptance of the world. That means there's something more than sight. I'm convinced there's something so beyond sight, so beyond just shapes moving around. It's as if it's like it's what's calling them. It's as if there was this beautiful depiction in religious poetry that everything in existence is in some sense it's like this the imprint of the creators in the artwork. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's as if it's too unique to be convinced that one narrative is like the Lord of the Rings kind of like, one ring to rule them all thing. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to say is, after everybody has achieved a moment where they're like, yo, I experienced peace on earth, great. What's next is how that peace advances. Like, advancement is such a beautiful thing, like idea, that I don't think there's any idea more beautiful than advancement. And we are advanced communicators. Why? Because communication is a damn advanced activity for when we look at all the other species. It's as if, the owl, the person opened their window and there was an owl there, and the human being looked at the owls and it's like, what kind of problems could you have that are keeping you up at night? You know what I mean? The owl just, stares at the person, right? It's as if the reception, it's as if we have, the human mind is like a body. It's like the extension of biology, right? Psychological self-projection, self-hidden projection. I don't know. There was a time where I thought neurologists are going to get panic attacks and neurology is going to become like a forbidden kind of thing. It's forbidden, to try to see how, how the cells, how in some sense, an electromagnetic field is in maintaining a biological organism. We are not that different from the machine realm. We're not different from the natural realm, from the unnatural. What I'm trying to say is that the future is so beyond the story the human being is telling itself that I was like, WTF, this civilization's like, it's put a box on its head and it's done, right? It's as if costume games, but on a national level, right? And just a side note, if you've enjoyed the talk, Mr. Within's research lab is open on the YouTube page. Anyways, what I'm trying to say, whoever you are, you might not get spoken to from a video often, but I'm going to tell you something. As one conscious being in the universal sector, as one conscious being that has accepted that the inner realms are like a forgotten library, imagine an object becoming so sophisticated throughout